Hello everyone, Curtis White here from the CannondaleCyclocrossWorld.com team, and today we are looking at the Superprestige course in Gavere. Now the conditions today were around 43 degrees Fahrenheit or 6 degrees centigrade and only a little rain overnight. However, this course is historically heavy and muddy, and that's exactly what we're getting today. So as we're rolling down the start-finish straight here, I've already gone a lap out in the course with the Challenge Limas tires starting at 1920 psi. Now, if you think that's low, this lap I went down pressure even further to 1718 psi. So after a long start straight on rough pavement, we have a sweeping left and right hand turns here, which gets very tight quickly, and into this Holeshot, which is a chute sweeping to the left up ahead. Now, the best lines through this Holeshot are all the way to the left, hugging the corner, or all the way to the right on the outside, but I'm riding this middle line as a precaution. There's always lines that we think are ideal or that work, but sometimes these starts are so chaotic that you find yourself in a less than ideal situation. It's best to be prepared and know how to react when things don't go totally to plan. Now, it's clear early on how heavy and slick this course is, and it's important to really look for traction anywhere you can. Here we have a 180 turn following Tom Pidcock and his teammate Ben Turner here. And we're seeing Ryan Camp able to ride that corner to the right, but this is really a running section. Now we have a 180 to the right, remounting, and we're going back down this hill. Over the next series of turns, you'll notice that I'm setting up wider for some of these corners or having to adjust my lines accordingly. But through a lot of these situations, we have to make decisions with our lines based on how to protect our position versus how do I maximize my exit speed. And not often do those two objectives totally sync up all the time, but it's about reading the current situation that you're in. And to maximize exit speed and maintain traction, I'm swinging wide through these corners and cutting hard through a lot of these sections. Looking for the green traction patch is important. Green means traction, green means go. That old school saying. So as we come down that slick descent, 180 back up, the most consistent method is dismounting early, running, and using the bike as support through the corner. Now, we saw Tom Pidcock, who's the eventual winner today with an incredible performance, slide around the outside, really Tokyo drifting the bike and muscling up this climb with enough momentum. That in and of itself was an impressive display just in the pre-ride. So, running over the top of that hill, remounting, gaining momentum when you can. We come down this little descent, hook up on that rut there, and try to use your momentum to muscle the bike back up over this climb. It's really slick. You see the leaves kicking up there, and it's easy for the rear wheel to spin out. So you want to keep your weight back and really muscle the bike and try to maintain traction. So as we crest this hill, we're coming up on pit 1. Both sides of the pit are a little awkward in that it's on the side of this hill and you're basically riding across and off camber. More racers I saw chose to get a clean bike through pit 2, and I think that had more to do with the exit corner, but Pidcock and a few others were one of the few who were consistently getting fresh bikes through pit 1 and before this screaming fast descent here. And this descent is notorious for some of the biggest yard sale crashes in cyclocross, so the race put a massive cushion around the outside of the corner. And unfortunately, it claimed me as a victim with about 3 laps to go and took me out of a top 20 ride. But after that descent, we have really the only period of recovery on this course, and it's very short. This is a really heavy track, and it's very easy to overextend your effort and go into the red. You want to be consistent with your lap times and maximizing your momentum and minimize your surges and mistakes. Here we have a slick 180 turn. Really look for that traction patch again. Get back up to speed. Stay composed. Catch your breath. We're going to hook up to the right here. Swing a little bit wide. Cut in. 180 down the hill. We're going to pump through this ditch with a little bridge here. And we drop onto this path for the next few hundred meters. Now this is really the lowest part of the course. We just came off a massive descent and a little recovery section, so this will really be the fastest part of the course, and it's important to make sure you're on the group, on a good wheel, or putting in time to someone behind you. Now you'll see there's a little bit of a curve right to the right along this canal, and that's where we saw Tom Pidcock later in the race using that narrow slab to get a slight advantage. It was only slightly smoother than this rough path. Again, make sure you're attentive through this section prior to this, because you don't want to be closing gaps through the straight, because this next section is absolutely brutal. As we come to the end of the section, kill the speed, shift up into a lighter gear, lift the front wheel over the bridge, and you're coming into the heaviest part of this track. We have a really long climb that is just a pure diesel effort. A few riders were able to swing wide through the entrance, gain a little bit more momentum, but I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier, in that you want to minimize the surges because it's features like this where you'll absolutely pay the price. There are a couple small roots or rocks under the surface here and a few little transitions, but it's really only one line that works up this right up the middle. Here I'm trying to the left a little bit, trying to the right, but right in the middle is that hard packed surface under that mud. Here we just saw Vinny Baston's pass by here. Unfortunately, he had a crash. We're wishing him well and a quick recovery coming up. But while having only one line to choose from makes things simple, it can also make the racing situation a little complicated. In the first lap, we saw just one long line of riders following the same line. But this hill is so hard that if one rider has an issue or makes a mistake, it jams everyone up, and it's long enough to where we'd have to dismount, try to run for a bit, and remount quick. So we've already been climbing up this diesel climb for about a minute since the bridge. We're coming over the crest right now. Couple ruts into pit 2. Again, this is the side that I preferred to pit on. There was a couple bumps in there, but you're really on an off camber the entire way across this. We're coming up into a 180 turn to the left. It's a little greasy, a couple roots under the mud here with the trees, and again, with running such low pressures, we're having to be a little careful of not bottoming out all the time, but we trust our equipment, we know how to ride it well, and we make our decisions from there. You saw in that last 180 turn that we really have to go tape to tape on this course and try to maximize our momentum to the best of our ability. It's a real big effort to stay that attentive for the entire length of this course. So getting back up to speed across the slight off camber, we're about 90 seconds from the end of the lap here. So we're staying in those ruts, last left, right there. Coming across the side of the hill, there was a nice rut that developed around the outside that shot you up right across this pavement. We're bending to the left. This is really the last opportunity besides the start-finish straight to close or create any gaps. We only have one turn left, and it's dead straight for the next 200 meters or so. And it's really bumpy terrain with a couple hidden rocks and roots, and only the left and right line to choose from. There were some moving from left to right or right to left, but there's really no escaping the bumps and divots. And again, with us running such low tire pressures throughout the day, basically as low as we could manage, we had to be very careful around potential threats to equipment like rocks, roots, and curbs, but I have faith in my tires and I'm really willing to push them to the limit. So as we're coming to the end here, we're going to round this final corner, 180 degree turn to the right. It's a little bit of a rut there. From here it's about 200 to 250 meters to the finish line, and that wraps up the course. It's a huge contrast from yesterday at the Scheldecross in Antwerp, where there was really no explosive features here. We saw the course was hard enough to where they didn't have to add any stairs or barriers, and it was a real race of attrition and a real diesel effort with a good mix of driving the bike well. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos throughout the cyclocross season and share with your friends. You can visit curtisjwhite.com/inthered for more content. Take care, stay healthy, keep riding, and we'll catch you next weekend at the World Cup in Namur.